It's a great pleasure to have you here with us for our roundtable on the recent CBD conference. My name is Francesco Sindico. I'm the co-director of the Strathclyde Centre for Environmental Law and Governance. And I'm really pleased that we're going to have this event today because it will provide you the opportunity to get insights from recent negotiations from those who were actually there. And this is one of the great things that now we have here at the Centre and at the law school, the possibility of having colleagues who not only share with us the academic rigor, but also the practical insights. So what we're going to do today is look back at something that happened back in December in Cancun. This was the conference of the party of the UN Biodiversity Conference. And at this conference of the parties, a number of very topical and very interesting areas were discussed. And just to name a few, synthetic biology, marine biodiversity, links between human rights and biodiversity, especially in relation to traditional knowledge of indigenous people communities. These were all aspects that were dealt with in a number of ways that found their way, in some cases, in decisions of the Conference of the Parties. And we have three experts, two of which are related to the Centre, and one who's an external speaker, that were in Cancun and can really share with us these very interesting insights. I will briefly introduce them. I will also briefly introduce the activities that the Strathclyde Centre for Environmental Law and Governance did at Cancun, and then I will give the floor to the speakers. The first speaker will be Dr. Deborah Scott. She's joining us via Skype, and she's a research fellow at the Engineering, Life Science, Technology and Innovation Studies at the University of Edinburgh. Deborah has a really interesting background. She has a very multidisciplinary profile. She has studies in biology, in human geography, but she also has very interesting insights from practice. She has practiced international environmental law in Washington, D.C., but she has also had the possibility of bringing this into the field, for example, in Kenya, looking at agriculture and trade policy in that country. She has also worked with a number of communities where she has looked especially at the decision-making processes. Again, from a practical perspective, she has been collaborating with the Secretariat of the UN Convention on Biological Diversity. Very recent, well, a year and a half ago, so not so recently, she has joined a very interesting project called Engineering Life Project, which I'm sure she can tell us more about when we will give her the floor. The second speaker will be Daniela Diz. So sorry, I got the order wrong. So the second speaker will be Dr. Daniela Diz. Daniela works at the Strathclyde Centre for Environmental Law and Governance within the law school here at Strathclyde. She explores the evolution of international law of the sea and its relationship with other policy and legal instruments. She, in the very little time, if you want, that has been working with us at the Centre, has already made a notable impact, not just as a great colleague, but also, again, with these incredible insights that she brings from the very short trips that she does around the world, called be it Korea, Cancun, and so forth. So it's great to have her with us. And also, she brings a very interesting insights from her past work, especially also the work that she has done in Brazil. She has worked 7 years as an environmental lawyer in Brazil for both public and private sector, including being the director of the legal division of the state of Rio de Janeiro Biodiversity Institute. So some really interesting insights that come from her practical experience. And last, but definitely not least, to my left, are Professor Elisa Morgera, also co-director of the Strathclyde Centre for Environmental Law and Governance. Elisa, amongst many other things, explores how biodiversity law evolves in order to address a variety of global environmental law challenges, but also from a human rights perspective. She is the principal investigator of a very interesting project called Benelex, some of which she'll definitely talk about because it was linked to the work that she has done in Cancun. She has, like the previous two speakers, wide range practical experience. She has worked as a consultant for a number of international organizations such as the FAO, IUCN, the Organization of Economic and Cooperation Development, and so forth. And obviously the Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity. And some of this work, again, will be brought in today's workshop. What did our three speakers do in Cancun, and in particular Daniela and Elisa? I had to write it down because there's just way too much. I was hoping they would see something of Cancun, but apparently they didn't see a lot. So there was a flurry of activities of the center, and I'm more than happy for any of you to approach us to know more about, because I cannot speak for all the events and in all details. But just to give you a flavor, in the first week, there was an event in collaboration with the Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity on mainstreaming biosafety. And this is linked to a consultancy that the center has with the Secretariat itself. In the second week, literally on a daily basis, the center was involved in meetings and events. The first one on the Tuesday was a Benelux project meeting looking at biodiversity governance. The center then organized in collaboration with the International Development Law Organization another event on mainstreaming biodiversity. And again, this was linked to a consultancy that the center has with the IDLO. On the last 2 days, Daniela and Elisa were involved on marine biodiversity-related events, and this really allowed them to have in front of them policymakers, wider stakeholders, and I, for one, am really, really interested and curious to get insights from your experience in Cancun, and obviously also from Deborah's contribution. So I will now give the floor to our first speaker, Deborah Scott. The way we're going to run this, every speaker will have between 20 and 25 minutes to take us through their own experience and their own insights. And we will then have just a brief moment if anybody has some immediate questions. But at the end of the three presentations, we'll definitely have more time for a wide range of question and answer session where you can discuss, interact with our speakers. One thing I did not mention, but I would like to do, is that our first speaker, Deborah Scott, is also engaged in the real world, if you want to call it like that, meaning that she has contributed to an article on The Guardian where the title of the article itself is really intriguing, and it's "In an Engineered World, Who Benefits from Biological Diversity?" And this was in the aftermath of the CBD COP. So I hope that she will say something about that, maybe not give the full answer, but at least touch upon it.